Welcome to Wealth Mavericks, the podcast where we help doctors unlock the secrets to building generational wealth. And today we're talking about the importance of tax planning throughout the year, why procrastination can be a killer, and what you can do about it.
When we choose to procrastinate, it's because we're under a lot of pressure. We finally feel that pressure alleviated, and just for it to kind of mount again. And that's the difference when we are doing tax planning for our members. They don't feel that pressure. What advice do you have for those people who have procrastinated this year?
If you're a doctor, click the link below. You need to hire us, and we need to take action now. You need to get into discovery, and we need to start tax planning now. Because as each day gets closer to the end of the year, you start losing more and more time and opportunities to save more and more in taxes.
So it's hard to believe, but we are coming up on the fourth quarter of 2024. And as we're having conversations, we hear doctors saying, well, it's not the end of the year yet, so I still have some time. And so what we want to talk about today is why tax planning is so much more than tax filing, and how really having a strategic tax plan in place, it's a year-long process over and over again. And so if you're coming up on the end of the year and you're like, oh, I don't have a tax plan in place yet, we're going to have Bob talk about what you can be doing now and what you can be doing to set yourself up better next year.
Yeah, so this is a big one, because pretty much most fourth quarter is where like tax planning really happens, because everyone procrastinates. And let's call it what it is. It's procrastination. Now, people will justify it by saying, well, I won't know what my profit looks like or what my numbers will look like until towards the end of the year. But then the question I ask many times is, well, is your business and your practice and what you're doing revenue-wise this year very similar to last year? Yeah. How about the year previous to that? Yeah. So then you kind of do know what your end of the year is going to look like based on the last 2 years. But let's take the tax planning side out of it, and let's just talk about life. Just all of us, life in the fourth quarter. Joe, what happens in the fourth quarter of life?
Everything happens then.
Everything, right? We have Thanksgiving. And then what happens after Thanksgiving is, okay, yeah, it could be Black Friday. Okay, yeah. No, but you have Thanksgiving happens, and then the entire December is what? Holiday parties. You got Christmas, you got New Year's. When do you have to renew most of your insurances? By the end or beginning of next year, right? When are you closing up your books? As a doctor, are your patient loads increasing because people are trying to hit their own deductibles because they've procrastinated, and now all of a sudden you're busier in the fourth quarter than earlier in the year? Why in the world are you putting pressure on yourself now to say, I want to save money in taxes here, when you have all of this on you? That sounds insane to me when it's broken down.
And it is insane. It's like doing the same thing, expecting a different result. It's like you've done this every single year so far, like so many people have. And I think people just don't recognize, even understanding the different dates that are important throughout the year from a tax perspective. A lot of business owners don't even know that. They don't know that September 15th is an important date. Why? There are reasons why these things are important. And I think when we choose to procrastinate, it's because we're under a lot of pressure. We finally feel that pressure alleviated, and just for it to kind of mount again. And that's the difference when we are doing tax planning for our members. They don't feel that pressure. This is part of the reason when we talk about building peaceful wealth. It does not have to be scary. It does not have to feel onerous. It does not have to feel like it's all this pressure. Do it throughout the year, and that changes everything.
Yeah.
But I would be curious, for people who are listening and they've procrastinated yet again, what advice or input would you have for them, Bob, going into September, October, November, December? Like, what advice do you have for those people who have procrastinated this year?
If you're a doctor, click the link below. You need to hire us, and we need to take action now. You need to get into discovery, and we need to start tax planning now, because as each day gets closer to the end of the year, you start losing more and more time and opportunities to save more and more in taxes. There's a reason why people say, come to us and say, I feel like I should be paying less taxes. I know I'm overpaying taxes. I'm frustrated with the taxes I'm paying. This is why, to your point, Joe, it's insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. Okay. So that's the first thing. Become a member. And then
we hear this all the time. Aaron, you probably hear it more than anyone else. It's like, oh, I've got a few months until the end of the year. I'm going to take a look at this and I'll get back to you in October or November. And it's like, totally fine. At that time, I'll let you know if we have room to take you on.
Yeah.
I get that you have time to file this, but guess what? Because we take that off of our members, our schedule is busy during that time. So we may or may not have room for you at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So what usually happens, what's the normal advice for somebody as they get towards the end of the year? Purchase equipment. You may have heard this. Okay. Well, why purchase equipment? Because it's an expense and you can take a bonus depreciation based on the current tax laws and how tax laws will be renewed and all that fun stuff. So it gets you a nice little tax benefit. Company vehicle, right? Upgraded car, company vehicle. Well, we did that last year. Well, are you going to do it again? Do you have a fleet of cars in your driveway because of tax time? And by the way, does it make any sense to go spend $100,000 to save $37,000, but you just gave away $63,000?
Right.
That makes zero sense, but that's the logic in the planning. Go set up a retirement plan. Well, okay, let's go lock up capital till 59 and a half to get a tax savings. No, it's a retirement plan. It's not a tax savings vehicle. It's a retirement plan. The government called it what it is. So if you're just doing that for tax savings, you're locking up capital that you don't have for your business or other assets to grow and save money on taxes ongoing, and you're deferring that tax asset to later on after 59 and a half. So you're actually increasing your tax liability down the road. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not saying it's a bad asset, just it may be cart before the horse in the plan. Right? What are some other strategies, right? That's basically a lot of the strategies that are employed right now with current tax planning, okay? And so the reason why we say tax planning should be throughout the year is because it's easier to plan, especially if you have to have capital expenditures to help execute some of these plans. It's easier to spread it throughout the year because of cash flow. Let's revert back to episode of what's the cash flow recovery. Because of cash flow and capital in your business, in your life, it's easier to spread it over 12 months versus 2 months, right? Well, that's when I have my profit. No, that's when you've waited for everything. If we plan accordingly, you can actually have tax savings on a monthly basis every month throughout the year and bring that elevation of year-end planning and issues or life events down, right? Because in the beginning of this episode, we talked about all the things that you're going through at fourth quarter with life and practice. We know that. So it doesn't make sense to try to save so much money on taxes and put so much pressure on yourself and the tax team that you have that may not be tax planners to try to accomplish what you want, but it seems not to happen. Right?
Well, and the conversation doesn't even happen. I think that's the thing that's really frustrating for me is in years past when I'd work with a CPA, I would talk with them essentially one time per year before tax season when they would just tell me, here's what you owe, here's where to send this. That was my life. That was it. That was the extent of taxes. And so how about imagine this, doctor? It's fourth quarter and you're meeting with terra firma and with your coach and your asset coach and tax strategist. And we're telling you not only here's what your projections are for next year, because we already know these things, they're all planned, but here's what you can do this year to reduce that bill for next year. Imagine having that conversation with an expert who's telling you ahead of time while you still can do something. And that's where this misnomer with CPAs, people think that their CPA is giving them tax advice. They are not. They're filling in boxes correctly. That's their job. You're expecting them to do something that is not their job.
Yeah.
And so you don't have this role in your life and you need it.
Well, we have a process. Think about it. We have a tax filing process. There's a methodology in the process of filing taxes with us. Okay, so let's roll that out, and because I've never heard of anybody talk about their tax filing process, right? Oh, well, we send out a packet and we get updated information and then we file their taxes. No, that's not a process. Okay, so let's talk about dates in the year like you were talking about before, Joe. What happens on March 15th? Your business or corporate returns need to be filed. Either they're not filed or you have to file an extension. Okay, April 15th, what happens? Your personal tax returns either need to be filed or an extension needs to be filed. Okay, and when do those extensions occur? Well, March 15th, business return gets extended to September 15th. April 15th, personal filing gets extended to October 15th. Okay, so that's the timeline. So think about, you have the entire United States, 168 million taxpayers, individual taxpayers, in February to April 15th filing taxes. As a business owner, your situation's already more complicated because you are a business, which is why there's a separate filing tax date. Okay? And so all of a sudden, you're expected to have your CPA, your tax preparation team, not make mistakes with all the documentation, everything that's coming from all of their clients. How many clients does your tax preparer have? Have you ever asked them? Have you ever asked them not only how many clients and how many of them are business owners or how many of them are doctors, right? They're going to have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 to 1,500 tax filing. Holy cow!
Mm-hmm.
So here's our process. When it comes to March 15th and April 15th, we file one piece of paper. I say paper. It's not a paper, but it's called an extension. We file an extension. Well, Bob, I like my taxes to be filed on time. Great. Then you're also okay with there being potential mistakes on your filing. Well, no. Well, then this is why we have a process. So after April 15th, it doesn't stop there. Tax preparers continue the onslaught of getting things done, assuming they got all the documentation until May 15th. What happens at May 1st, May 15th?
They all take a month off.
They all take a month off. Thank God. Go decompress. So when do you think we're filing our taxes for our clients now? Right now, during summertime. When our tax team, they're mellow, right? They can focus. We get to have time. We schedule time with our clients and we say, here's the first draft of the filing of the taxes. Does this look good? So you'll have your asset coach tax strategist, you'll have your tax filing team, and you, the client, on a 30-minute call going through the tax returns, make sure you gave us everything, make sure we're showing everything to eliminate what? Mistakes. We want to file this correctly. And then once we got it all nailed down, and I will tell you, there's always something that pops up. Always. Well, of course there is. We wait an entire year for all this to occur. There's always something. Okay, especially depending on how many assets you have and how many tax forms and K1s and all this kind of stuff. So that's why we do this, is so we're able to, and we have everybody on the call together. So why? So we can be efficient with everybody's time. Let's get it done. No going back and forth and this and that and emails and all this kind of stuff between patients and between our clients and and our members and stuff. No, let's get it done. And so we spend summer filing, nice and peaceful and calm. We don't need to wait to the end of September 15th or October. We do for those more complicated returns where we're waiting for K1s from other partnerships and limited partnerships and investment strategies that they're taking a long time to get to us. You can't file. You got to wait for that stuff. Okay? But our team has everything scheduled and we know who those members are. And we have them labeled because they know when they usually get their K1. So it's very simple, but that's our process of filing taxes. And we have found that people feel more involved. It becomes less scary. Our tax team appreciates it. The members appreciate it. And the coaches and us as a whole appreciate it because everybody's calm. We're not trying to accomplish everything in a hectic period of time. By the way, when it comes Christmas time, you're not the only one going through Christmas time. We all are too. Right?
Well, that's what I was talking to one of our doctor members the other day, and he was like, yeah, everybody knows you don't get surgeries in June. I was like, what do you mean you don't get surgeries in June? He goes, yeah, those are the newbies. They just graduated medical school. They're the new guys that are operating on you. I was like,
Woo.
my mind was blown. I was like, okay, no surgeries in June. That's the new ones. So I think, you as a doctor understand there is a flow and there is a cycle to how everything operates. It's like, choose to be where the crowd is not, and candidly, like, why would I schedule surgeries first thing in the morning? I want to be there when the doctor's fresh. Do I want to be their third surgery of the day or their fourth surgery of the day? And the ER docs, or surgeons, I don't even know how they operate, because they could be on their 17th surgery.
They're
for the day.
supernatural.
But I mean, it's like, it's crazy. So to operate at that level, just understand not everybody can do that. So people who are tax preparing, when their mind is exhausted, what is going to happen? Let's wait until they're fresh. So I think, Bob's input is, we want to be intentional in the process and know it doesn't just because I bet if we did like a quote unquote man on the street video and asked people when tax day is, I would say the vast majority of Americans would know that it's someday in April. They probably know it's April 15th. Now, they don't know that if that falls on a weekend, well, is it the day before? Is it on the Monday after? When does that happen? But almost none of them know about March 15th, September 15th, October 15th. They don't know about these deadlines. And so I think just having that awareness, like, now that you know and you can do something about it, if you don't hire Terra Firma to help you, you need to demand more from your team, whoever that is. Just expect more. And if you expect that and inspect the work that they're doing, if you know what you're doing with that, and if it's worth your time to do that, that's what you should be experiencing. Not the chaos, not the unknowing, not the giant question marks, not the fear. That doesn't need to exist in your life. It doesn't exist for our members. We'd like for it not to exist for you as well.
That was great. Thank you, guys. So yes, bring the peace and calm to your tax planning instead of having to freak out every year and scramble. So there probably is still a little we could do, this year, but let's make sure you're not in that same place next year, and let's make it a year-long process. So let's do your cash flow recovery. Find us online, and thank you for listening.